Hey guys, what's going on? Lane back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about Hustle. Hustle is an American sports comedy drama that tells the story of Stanley Sugarman, an international talent scout for the Philadelphia 76ers, who finds himself worn down from the wear and tear associated with his job. As he continues to scout the world for the next big player for the team, he randomly encounters a man in Spain with incredible talent. Stanley strikes a deal with the man, Bo Cruz, to try and make him the next big player for the team, but their journey to the top isn't easy as the pair encounters one setback after another throughout Bo's training that will test the strength of their partnership. I didn't have very high hopes for this movie at first due to the quality of Adam Sandler's other work in recent years, but this one took me by surprise with how good it ended up being. It isn't perfect and it's a tad bit derivative, but it remains an enjoyable underdog story bolstered by the presence of its characters. Stanley is a character who has multiple layers. He's relatively successful at what he does, but his constant traveling takes a toll on him, especially since it keeps him apart from his family, and he has a noble goal in wanting to become the next coach for the 76ers. It becomes easy to sympathize with his struggles as he tries to maintain as healthy a work-life balance as possible for the sake of him and his family's well-being, and he stays focused on his mission. He always takes bits of advice to heart and repeats them to others, which reinforces his dedication to becoming a coach, and this made me want to root for him to succeed. Seeing Adam Sandler in the role of Stanley makes me wish he did dramatic roles more often. He perfectly balances the demeanor of an everyman who's both charming and easygoing with those he's closest to, and at the same time obsessed with chasing his dream in spite of the obstacles he faces. Juancho Hernan-Gomez also did a great job in the role of Bo. I later learned that Juancho is an actual NBA player, which is a testament to the quality of his acting and also lends credence to how he portrays someone who shows potential but isn't quite ready for the big leagues yet. Even though his origin story is quite typical for the genre and pretty predictable in how it proceeds, he's able to overcome his rote conventions. Along with his adorable relationship to his daughter Lucia, the movie has a lot of fun with little things like him eating one bite of a Philly cheesesteak to stay healthy, or buying tons of adult video content on Stanley's dime. There's a certain innocence to his character that makes him incredibly likable. His sensitivity to those who insult his family often get the best of him though, and this is where his relationship with Stanley comes into play. While the two come from different worlds, they're able to come together to achieve a common goal, with Bo working on his physique while Stanley hones Bo's mental toughness. The camaraderie and trust that builds as a result of the training Bo endures is fun to watch unfold. Both of them have their share of rough patches, whether it's the physical strain Bo receives from training or Stanley's butting heads with executives just to get a chance to prove Bo's worth, and seeing them fight and claw their way to the top was a rewarding experience. In this sense, it was great to see so much attention to detail with how the world of basketball was portrayed. As someone who knows virtually nothing about the sport, I was impressed with how much time was given to show how grueling tryouts are to book, how aggravating the meetings can be, and how cruel the mind games are that rival players use on others. It certainly helps that this movie was produced by LeBron James, who no doubt had a big hand in ensuring everything shown on screen was accurate in comparison to how it appears in real life. Some of the sports terminology that's used tended to fly past me at times, but in general it was easy to understand and very interesting to see play out. The inner politics and power struggles associated with the sport is further exemplified with Vince Merrick, the owner of the 76ers, though I ultimately found him to be a mixed bag. On one hand, he's understandable in the role of someone who's more business-oriented and results-driven, and the way he clashes with Stanley is realistic without being overblown. But on the other hand, it does feel like he mostly exists just to stir the pot and constantly be a thorn in Stanley's side. This is probably accurate to how greedy businessmen in the NBA are, but even so, much of the conflict between the two becomes increasingly more forced over time, only for Vince to sort of just disappear from the story after a while without any warning. Despite how disappointing Vince ended up being, his father Rex makes up for him a little bit. Even though he doesn't have a lot of screen time, it's great to see a role model figure believe in Stanley's potential as a coach right from the get-go, and it's always a pleasure to see Robert Duvall continue to perform. Of course, the movie's biggest selling point is basketball, and not just the politics surrounding it. In this regard, the filmmakers did a fantastic job showcasing how intense the games are, whether they're just for fun or they're for a spot in the NBA. All of the games featured great cinematography of the little things players do to try and trip up their competition. This, combined with the energetic soundtrack, made the games my favorite part of the movie, and I say this as someone who rarely, if ever, watches basketball. The training montages are also enjoyable to see, not just because of the variety of them, but also in how they show Bo's progression to superstardom, as they emphasize the grind that he has to endure if he wants to make it to the NBA. They are a bit excessive in length, but they have their place in the story, and it's always funny to see Stanley come up with new insults for Bo during enjoying them. Speaking of humor, the comedy is much more subdued compared to the average Sandler movie. A lot of it consists of banter between Stanley and Bo that's zany in nature and makes for a good laugh. My favorite dialogue was when Stanley first meets Bo, who's dedicated to his construction job, but when Stanley reveals the starting salary of an NBA player, Bo's mother immediately declares that he'll call in sick for work. I also appreciated that the movie didn't rely on slapstick or other kinds of goofy humor. There's a few instances that are questionable, mostly when Stanley tours the world and encounters increasingly oddball players, but they never impact the story in a negative way. There's some fun to be had with the supporting characters in Stanley's life as well, in the form of his daughter Alex and wife Teresa, who's played by Queen Latifah. It was a bit iffy with how casually Teresa seemed to take Stanley spending family money on Bo all the time, but their support for Stanley's dream did add to the enjoyment of the story. I have to admit that the movie's ending kind of fell flat for me. It felt like it ended too suddenly for me to process everything that was going on, almost as if there was a climax that was supposed to happen, but never did. It's still inspirational to an extent, but it could have been handled better. Nevertheless, its themes regarding dedication and obsession remain meaningful and consistent throughout the story. Both Stanley and Bo have a drive that makes them appealing as protagonists, bringing with them a motivating sincerity that helps to make an old story feel new again. Overall, Hustle is a solid sports drama showing the toll that striving for success takes on others while doing so in entertaining fashion. If you're a big fan of basketball or sports in general and you're looking for a movie that strikes a good balance between being funny and serious, you should definitely check this one out. Even though it has some issues with its story's presentation, they never get in the way of the bigger picture. Basketball fans and average moviegoers alike can appreciate its touching lighthearted story, subtle comedy, and authentic representation of the sport. It has something for everyone to enjoy, making this one of Adam Sandler's best movies in recent years. What did you think about this movie? Did you also think it was one of Sandler's best works, or do you prefer another movie in his catalog? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's gonna wrap up my review of Hustle. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the French animated family film Chicken Hare and the Hamster of Darkness. Bye bye!